The warning systems across the Zephyrian homeworld began screaming at exactly 1400 hours Galactic Standard Time when something massive dropped out of hyperspace without any advance notice. Admiral Krixtal had been enjoying his afternoon meal when the alerts reached his command center and he rushed to see what kind of emergency could trigger every sensor on the planet at once. What he saw through the main viewing screen made him forget how to breathe for several long seconds. A ship hung in space above their world, but calling it a ship felt like calling a mountain, a small rock. The vessel stretched 12 kilometers from bow to stern and was nearly 3 kilometers wide, with a hull that seemed to drink in starlight rather than reflect it. Weapon ports dotted its surface like the eyes of some ancient predator, and energy readings from the ship made their most powerful battleships look like children's toys. Admiral Krixtal had fought in 17 major battles across 3 different star systems and had never seen anything that came close to this level of technological impossibility. His communications officer turned toward him with wide eyes and reported that the vessel was attempting to establish contact using standard galactic frequencies. The admiral straightened his uniform and tried to remember the first contact protocols that had been established centuries ago when the Galactic Council first began expanding into unknown space. He activated the main communication array and spoke the traditional greeting that had been used for over 2,000 years. Unknown vessel. This is Admiral Krixtal of the Zephyrian Defense Force, speaking for the sovereign world of Zephyr Prime, and we welcome you to our system under the protection of galactic law. The response came immediately in perfect galactic common language, with only the slightest accent that suggested the speaker had learned it recently. Admiral Krixtal, this is Captain Lisa Bennett of the United Earth Federation vessel, USS Titan's Wake, and we thank you for your welcome to this beautiful system. Admiral Krixtal felt his primary heart skip a beat when he heard the word Earth, because no species in galactic records had ever used that designation for their homeworld. Captain Bennett, we are pleased to make contact with your people, and we hope to establish peaceful relations according to standard galactic protocols. There was a brief pause before Captain Bennett responded, and her voice carried a note of curiosity that somehow made the massive warship seem less threatening. Admiral, we appreciate your formal welcome, but we should probably mention that this is actually just an exploration vessel from our fleet, and we're primarily interested in scientific research and cultural exchange. The Admiral looked again at the readings from his sensor arrays and wondered what kind of species would consider a 12-kilometer battle fortress to be an exploration vessel. Captain Bennett, may we inquire about the size of your crew and the nature of your mission in this sector? Of course, Admiral, we're carrying approximately 8,000 personnel, including scientists, researchers, engineers, and support staff on a 5-year mission to explore this region of the galaxy and establish peaceful contact with any civilizations we encounter. 8,000 crew members on a single vessel was more than most planetary defense forces, and Admiral Krixtal found himself wondering just how advanced these humans might be. Captain Bennett, we would be honored to arrange a formal meeting between our governments, and we will immediately notify the Galactic Council of your arrival as required by interstellar law. That sounds wonderful, Admiral, and we'd be happy to meet with your representatives, though we should probably mention that we've already detected several other inhabited systems in this region, and we plan to visit them as well. The casual way Captain Bennett mentioned. Detecting inhabited systems across multiple light years made Admiral Krixtal realize that human sensor technology was apparently decades ahead of anything in the galaxy. Captain Bennett, may we ask about the nature of your vessel's power source? because our readings are showing energy outputs that seem theoretically impossible." Captain Bennett laughed, and the sound was surprisingly warm, coming from someone commanding such an intimidating warship. "Oh, that's our contained stellar core system, Admiral. It's basically a miniature star that we use to power the ship's systems and manufacturing facilities." Admiral Crickstall felt his secondary heart stop beating entirely because the idea of containing a star inside a spacecraft was beyond anything even the most advanced species had ever attempted. "Captain Bennett, did you say manufacturing facilities?" "Yes, Admiral. We have complete fabrication capabilities on board, including shipbuilding facilities, automated mining systems, and even agricultural production areas to keep our crew supplied during long missions." The Admiral realized that the humans had essentially built a mobile civilization rather than just a starship, and he began to understand why their vessel was so impossibly large. "Captain Bennett, we are very interested in learning more about your people and your technology, and we hope we can arrange cultural exchanges that benefit both our civilizations." "We'd love that, Admiral, and we're always excited to learn about new cultures and share what we know about science and exploration." The enthusiasm in Captain Bennett's voice suggested that despite their overwhelming technological advantages, the humans genuinely seemed interested in friendship rather than conquest. Admiral Crickstall began composing the emergency message he would need to send to the Galactic Council, because this first contact was unlike anything in recorded history. Meanwhile, aboard the USS Titan's wake, Captain Lisa Bennett turned to her senior staff and smiled at the successful first contact. "Well, that went better than I expected," she said to Commander Jake Morrison, who served as her second in command. "The Admiral seemed friendly enough, Captain, though I noticed their weapon systems came online the moment we dropped out of hyperspace." Captain Bennett nodded, because she had expected some defensive reaction to their arrival. "Can't blame them, Jake. We probably look pretty intimidating when we show up unannounced." Chief Engineer Danny Rodriguez looked up from his console where he had been monitoring the local system's energy signatures. "Captain, their technology level is impressive, but they're still using fusion reactors and conventional weapon systems, so we're probably a few hundred years ahead of them, Dr." Helen Grant, who served as the ship's chief science officer, added her observations about the planet below. "Captain, I'm reading a population of approximately 3 billion individuals with advanced industrial capabilities and what appears to be a well-developed space program." Captain Bennett studied the information on her main screen and felt pleased that they had encountered another successful civilization. "Excellent, Helen. It sounds like they'll make good neighbors." Lieutenant Commander Steve Parker, who handled ship security, reported that several other vessels were approaching their position. "Captain, we have 12 Zephyrian warships moving to intercept us, though they're maintaining a respectful distance." Captain Bennett nodded approvingly because she respected any species that took their planetary defense seriously. "Let them escort us, Steve. We want to show good faith, and besides, they probably want to get a closer look at us on the planet below." Admiral Crickstall was receiving reports from his approaching fleet commanders, who were all describing the human vessel in terms that suggested they were having trouble believing their own sensor readings. "Admiral, the energy signatures from that ship are off our measurement scales," reported Captain Vextar from the lead escort vessel. "Admiral, their hull composition appears to be some kind of programmable matter that we've never encountered before," added Commander Zeklon from the science vessel. Admiral Crickstall realized that every new piece of information about the humans only made them seem more impossibly advanced. He activated his emergency communication system and began transmitting the most important message in Zephyrian history to the Galactic Council headquarters. Priority. Alpha message to all council members. We have confirmed first contact with a previously unknown species, calling themselves humans who possess technology levels that exceed our current understanding of physics and engineering. As Admiral Crixtal continued composing his report, he wondered if the galaxy was ready for whatever changes these humans might bring. The emergency session of the Hegemony Council convened exactly 36 hours after Admiral Crixtal's first contact report reached their headquarters, and representatives from all 5 dominant species gathered to discuss what they were calling. The Human Problem Council leader Vashati of the Altarian Federation called the session to order and immediately displayed the sensor readings that had been transmitted from Zephyr Prime. Fellow council members, we are facing an unprecedented situation, because these humans appear to possess technology that violates several fundamental laws of physics as we understand them. Representative Quindar from the Mechanical Collective added his analysis of the human vessel's construction methods. Our best engineers have studied the available data, and they cannot explain how a ship of that size could maintain structural integrity while generating those energy readings. The hegemony had ruled the galaxy for over 3,000 years through superior technology and military might, but the human ship made their most advanced vessels look primitive. Council leader Vashati activated the main communication array and opened a channel to the USS Titan's wake. Captain Bennett, this is Council leader Vashiti, speaking on behalf of the Galactic Hegemony, and we request an immediate demonstration of your intentions and capabilities. Captain Lisa Bennett appeared on the main viewing screen, and her relaxed demeanor seemed inappropriate for someone addressing the galaxy's supreme governing body. Council leader Vashati, we're honored to speak with you, and we'd be happy to demonstrate our peaceful intentions. Captain Bennett, we specifically request a demonstration of your technological capabilities so that we may properly assess your species' level of development. Captain Bennett turned to consult with her senior staff, and the council members could see Chief Engineer Danny Rodriguez pointing at something on his display screen. Council leader, we'd be glad to show you some of our basic technology, though we want to make sure we don't accidentally damage anything important. The casual way Captain Bennett referred to potentially damaging things made several council members shift uncomfortably in their seats. Captain Bennett, please proceed with a controlled demonstration using the asteroid field in the outer system. Captain Bennett nodded and gave orders to her crew while the council watched through their long-range sensors. Danny, let's show them our standard mining operation, but keep it small scale so we don't alarm anyone. Chief Engineer Rodriguez activated the ship's external manufacturing systems and launched a swarm of construction drones toward a nearby asteroid. The council members watched in fascination as thousands of tiny machines surrounded a kilometer-wide rock and began breaking it down at the molecular level. Within minutes, the entire asteroid had been converted into a stream of raw materials that flowed back toward the human vessel. Impressive, Captain Bennett. But we would like to see what you do with those materials. Captain Bennett smiled and gave Rodriguez another set of instructions. Danny, let's build them something useful as a gift, the construction. Drones immediately began assembling something in space using the materials from the processed asteroid. What emerged was a perfect replica of the Council's own flagship, complete with all external details and weapon systems. Captain Bennett, how did you obtain the specifications for our classified vessel designs? Captain Bennett looked genuinely confused by the question. Oh, we just scanned your ship when you arrived. Council leader, our sensors automatically map anything within range to help with navigation and safety. The idea that human sensors could penetrate their most advanced shielding and encryption systems without them even noticing made the council members realize they were dealing with technology beyond their comprehension. Representative Morgan from the Warrior cast spoke for the first time during the session. Captain Bennett, that level of scanning capability could be considered an act of espionage under galactic law. Captain Bennett's expression shifted to one of concern, and she immediately began apologizing. "Oh no, Representative Morgan. We didn't mean to violate any laws. Our sensors are just designed to automatically gather information about our surroundings for safety purposes, Doctor." Helen Grant appeared beside Captain Bennett and addressed the council directly. "Council members, please understand that our scanning systems are purely defensive in nature, and we had no intention of accessing classified information." The council members found themselves in the strange position of trying to explain galactic law to a species that could apparently violate their most secure systems without even trying. Council Leader Vashati decided to test the humans further. "Captain Bennett, we would like to see a demonstration of your defensive capabilities." Captain Bennett consulted with Lieutenant Commander Steve Parker, who served as her security chief. "Steve, let's bring the defensive grid online, but keep it at minimum power." The Council's sensors immediately detected massive energy spikes as the human vessel activated systems that had previously been dormant defensive shields appeared around the USS Titan's wake that generated more power than most planetary defense grids' weapon. Systems emerged from hidden compartments and began tracking every vessel within 100,000 kilometers. Energy cannons that could apparently punch through moon-sized objects swiveled to cover potential threat vectors. "Captain Bennett, please. Explain the nature of those weapon systems." Captain Bennett looked at her tactical displays and seemed surprised by the council's interest. "Oh, these are just our standard point defense systems, Council Leader. They're designed to handle debris and small asteroids that might threaten the ship." The weapons that the humans considered adequate for dealing with space debris could apparently destroy any vessel in the Galactic Fleet. Representative Click-Swen from the Science Directorate attempted to understand the human power source. "Captain Bennett, our readings suggest your vessel is powered by some form of controlled stellar fusion." Chief Engineer Rodriguez stepped forward to answer the technical question. "Actually, Representative, we use a contained stellar core that's essentially a miniature star held in a magnetic containment field." The idea of building a star inside a spacecraft was so far beyond current galactic technology that several council members began calculating how long it would take their civilizations to develop similar capabilities. Engineer Rodriguez: "How do you prevent such a power source from destroying your vessel?" Rodriguez looked genuinely puzzled by the question. "Well, Representative, we use standard containment protocols and backup safety systems just like any other power plant." The fact that humans considered star containment to be standard engineering made the Council realize they were dealing with a post-scarcity civilization. Council Leader Vashti made a decision that would change galactic history. "Captain Bennett, we formally request that humanity consider joining the galactic hegemony as a member species." Captain Bennett brightened at the invitation. "That sounds wonderful, Council Leader, though we should probably mention that we're just one exploration vessel, and any formal agreements would need to be approved by our government back on Earth." The casual mention that there were more ships like the USS Titan's wake sent alarm signals through every military commander watching the proceedings. Representative Morgan asked the question that everyone was thinking. "Captain Bennett, how many vessels does your fleet contain?" Captain Bennett consulted with Commander Jake Morrison before answering. "Well, Representative, our current deep space exploration fleet has about 50 vessels. though most of them are smaller than the Titan's wake. The idea that the humans had 50 ships with capabilities even remotely similar to what they had just witnessed made several council members begin updating their strategic assessments. Captain Bennett, we would be very interested in establishing formal diplomatic relations with your government. We'd love that, council leader, and I'm sure our diplomats would be excited to meet with your representatives. As the communication ended, Council Leader Vashati turned to address the other council members. Fellow representatives, it appears that the balance of power in the galaxy has just shifted dramatically. Representative Quindar brought up the tactical implications of human technology. Council Leader, their defensive capabilities alone make them effectively invulnerable to any conventional attack. Representative Morgan added his assessment of human military potential. If their exploration vessels are this advanced, then their actual warships must be beyond our ability to comprehend. Council Leader Vashati realized that the hegemony's 3,000-year reign as the galaxy's dominant power had just ended. Representatives, I suggest we begin preparing for a very different kind of galactic civilization. Meanwhile, aboard the USS Titan's wake, Captain Bennett was reviewing the encounter with her senior staff. Well, that seemed to go well, she said to Commander Morrison. Captain, I think we may have scared them a bit when we activated the defensive systems. Dr. Grant added her observations about galactic politics. Captain, it appears that these council species have been the dominant powers in this region for quite some time. Captain Bennett nodded thoughtfully. Then we'll need to be extra careful about how we proceed, because we don't want to disrupt their established order. Chief Engineer Rodriguez looked up from his damage control reports. Captain, the demonstration didn't cause any problems with our systems, though I noticed their sensors were trying to penetrate our hull. The massive diplomatic station that served as the mobile headquarters for the Galactic Council was roughly the size of a small moon and housed representatives from 47 different species, along with their support staff and security forces. Council Leader Vashati had ordered the station moved to a neutral system where they could conduct formal negotiations with the human delegation without appearing to favor any particular world ambassador. Claire Williams arrived aboard a human shuttle that was itself larger than most galactic vessels, and her escort included Marine Colonel Ryan Hayes, along with a small diplomatic team. The human shuttle docked with the diplomatic station exactly on schedule, and Ambassador Williams emerged wearing formal diplomatic attire that somehow managed to look both elegant and practical. Council Leader Vashati greeted the human delegation personally, which was an honor typically reserved for heads of state rather than mere ambassadors. Ambassador Williams, we welcome you aboard our diplomatic station, and we look forward to establishing formal relations between humanity and the galactic community. Ambassador Williams smiled warmly and shook hands with the council leader, using a gesture that seemed natural, despite being completely alien to galactic custom. Council Leader Vashati, we're honored by your invitation and excited about the possibility of joining the galactic community. The human delegation was escorted to guest quarters that had been specially prepared for their visit, though the council had no idea what kind of accommodations humans might prefer. Ambassador Williams seemed genuinely pleased with the arrangements and complimented the station's architecture and design. This is a beautiful facility, Council Leader, and we appreciate the care you've taken to make us comfortable. Council Leader Vashati felt encouraged by the ambassador's positive attitude and began to hope that the negotiations might proceed smoothly. The formal negotiation session was scheduled to begin the following morning, but the council decided to keep the human delegation waiting while they finalized their negotiating position. Ambassador Williams waited patiently in the guest quarters for 6 hours while the council members debated among themselves about how to handle the human situation. Colonel Hayes suggested that the delay might be intentional, but Ambassador Williams preferred to assume it was simply a matter of scheduling difficulties, patience. Colonel, the council is probably just trying to coordinate between multiple species, and that takes time. Meanwhile, in the main council chamber, representatives from across the galaxy were arguing about how to respond to humanity's overwhelming technological advantages. Representative Morgan from the Warrior caste advocated for a strong position that would require humans to accept technological limitations. Council members, we cannot allow any species to maintain such vast technological superiority over the rest of the galaxy. Representative Quindar from the Mechanical Collective disagreed and argued for immediate alliance with humanity. Representative Morgan, it would be foolish to antagonize a species that could probably conquer the entire galaxy without significant effort. The debate continued for hours while Ambassador Williams continued waiting patiently for the negotiations to begin. When the council finally invited the human delegation to the main chamber, Ambassador Williams showed no sign of irritation despite the lengthy delay. Council members, we apologize for keeping you waiting, and we hope we can now proceed with productive discussions. Ambassador Williams took her place at the designated negotiating table and activated a small communication device. Not a problem. Council leader, we understand that coordinating between multiple governments can be complicated. Council leader Vashati outlined the basic framework for galactic membership, which included technological sharing agreements and military cooperation requirements. Ambassador Williams' membership in the galactic community requires certain commitments from all species, including limitations on military capabilities and weapons development. Ambassador Williams listened carefully to the complete list of requirements before responding. Council leader, these are interesting proposals, but I think there may be some fundamental misunderstandings about human technology and intentions. Representative Morgan pressed the issue of technological limitations. Ambassador Williams' galactic stability requires that no single species maintain overwhelming military superiority. Ambassador Williams activated her communication device again and spoke briefly to someone aboard the USS Titan's wake. I understand your concerns, Representative, but I think a practical demonstration might help clarify the situation. Through the station's main viewing ports, the council members could see the human vessel beginning. Some kind of construction activity. Swarms of construction drones emerged from the USS Titan's wake and began assembling something in space at incredible speed. Within 2 hours, the humans had built a structure larger than the diplomatic station, itself complete with defensive systems and what appeared to be scientific laboratories. Dr. Helen Grant appeared on the communication screen to explain what they were building. Council members, this is a standard research station that we're constructing to support our ongoing scientific studies in this system. The casual way the humans had built something equivalent to a major installation in just 2 hours made the council realize that their entire understanding of construction and engineering was obsolete. Ambassador Williams continued her explanation while the construction continued outside. Council members, our technology operates on principles that may be unfamiliar to galactic civilization, but our intentions remain entirely peaceful. Representative Click-Swen from the Science Directorate attempted to understand the scope of human capabilities. Ambassador Williams, How many of these stations could your vessel construct? Ambassador Williams consulted her communication device before answering. Doctor, Grant estimates that we could build approximately 50 similar stations using the materials available in this system. The idea that a single human vessel could construct enough infrastructure to support an entire civilization made several council members begin re-evaluating their negotiating positions. Colonel Hayes reported that 17 more research stations had been completed while they were talking. Ambassador, the construction crews have finished the defensive perimeter and all stations are fully operational. The council members looked outside to discover that the humans had quietly surrounded the diplomatic station with a network of facilities that could apparently function as either research posts or military strongholds. Ambassador Williams noticed their concern and quickly provided reassurance. Council members, please understand that these are purely scientific installations designed to support our research activities. Council leader Vashati realized that the humans had effectively demonstrated their ability to fortify any position in space within hours. Ambassador Williams, we appreciate your commitment to scientific research, but your construction capabilities raise certain security concerns. Ambassador Williams smiled and activated her communication device again. Dr. Grant, could you please explain the defensive capabilities of our research stations? Dr. Grant appeared on screen looking slightly embarrassed. Council members, the stations are equipped with standard defensive measures, including energy shields and point defense systems. The weapons that the humans considered adequate for defending research stations were apparently more powerful than most military installations in galactic space. Representative Morgan made one final attempt to assert galactic authority. Ambassador Williams, we demand that your people stand down these installations immediately. Ambassador Williams maintained her diplomatic composure, but her response carried an undertone that suggested the conversation had reached its limits. Representative Morgan, we're not conquering anyone or threatening anyone. We're simply protecting ourselves while we conduct peaceful negotiations. Colonel Hayes stepped forward and addressed the council directly. Council members, humanity has no interest in dominating galactic civilization, but we also won't accept restrictions on our ability to defend ourselves and our research activities. The colonel's tone was respectful but firm, and the council members realized that humanity was drawing a clear line regarding acceptable terms. Ambassador Williams activated her communication device one more time. Captain Bennett, please provide the council with our current fleet status. Captain Lisa Bennett appeared on the main screen and provided an update that made the council's strategic situation crystal clear. Ambassador Williams, we now have 12 vessels in this system, along with 43 research and support stations. The casual mentioned that 11 more human vessels had arrived without being detected, made every military advisor in the chamber begin updating their threat assessments. Ambassador Williams turned back to the council with the same warm smile she had maintained throughout the negotiations. Council members, humanity wants to be part of the galactic community, and we're willing to work within reasonable frameworks, but we won't accept limitations that compromise our safety or our mission. Council leader Vashati realized that the traditional approach to managing new species was completely inadequate for dealing with humanity. Ambassador Williams, perhaps we should discuss modified membership terms that accommodate your unique technological capabilities. That sounds much more productive. Council leader, and we're confident we can find terms that work for everyone. The Traders Guild had controlled galactic commerce for over 2,000 years through careful manipulation of resource scarcity and transportation costs, but their first meeting with humanity would challenge every principle of economics they had ever known. Guildmaster Zektoll arrived at the diplomatic station aboard his personal merchant vessel, accompanied by the most experienced trade negotiators in the galaxy. Dr. Amy Foster, who served as the expedition's chief economist, greeted the trade delegation with enthusiasm that seemed inappropriate for someone about to negotiate trillion credit agreements. Guildmaster Zektoll, we're excited to discuss trade opportunities between humanity and the galactic community. Guildmaster Zektoll had prepared for months by studying every available piece of information about human technology and capabilities. Dr. Foster, we have reviewed your species' technological demonstrations and we are prepared to discuss exclusive trading agreements for your advanced systems. Dr. Foster looked genuinely confused by the suggestion of exclusivity. Guildmaster, I think there might be some misunderstanding about how human economics work. The trade negotiations began with Guildmaster Zektoll presenting the standard framework that had governed galactic commerce for centuries. Dr. Foster, galactic trade operates on established principles of supply and demand, with pricing structures based on resource scarcity and transportation costs. Dr. Foster listened politely to the complete explanation before activating her communication device. Chief Financial Officer Greg Miller, could you join us to discuss our economic principles? Greg Miller arrived within minutes, carrying data tablets that contained information about human economic systems. Guildmaster Zektoll, we appreciate your interest in trade, but I should explain that human civilization operates on post-scarcity economics. The concept of post-scarcity economics was theoretically familiar to galactic scholars, but no species had ever actually achieved it. Guildmaster Zektoll attempted to understand the practical implications. Mr. Miller, are you suggesting that humanity has eliminated resource limitations? Greg Miller activated his data tablet and displayed charts showing human production capabilities. Guildmaster, our matter conversion technology allows us to transform any basic elements into whatever materials we need. The ability to convert matter at the atomic level effectively eliminated scarcity for all physical goods and made traditional pricing models completely obsolete. Mr. Miller, what do humans consider valuable if physical resources have no scarcity? Dr. Foster answered the question with obvious excitement. Guildmaster, we value knowledge, cultural experiences, artistic expression, and opportunities for exploration and discovery. The idea that an advanced civilization might prefer poetry over platinum made Guildmaster Zektoll realize that human economics operated on completely different principles. Dr. Foster, how do you propose to establish trade relationships if you do not require traditional goods? Dr. Foster consulted her notes before presenting humanity's trade proposal. Guildmaster, we would like to offer unlimited energy production materials, synthesis and food generation in exchange for cultural artifacts, historical records, and artistic works. The offer to provide unlimited physical goods in exchange for intangible cultural items broke every rule of commerce that Guildmaster Zektoll had ever learned. Dr. Foster, you are offering to provide materials worth trillions of credits in exchange for cultural information. Dr. Foster nodded enthusiastically as if the arrangement was perfectly reasonable. Exactly, Guildmaster. We find that cultural exchange is much more valuable than simple resource trading. Greg Miller added technical details about human production capabilities. Guildmaster, our manufacturing systems can produce enough rare metals to supply the entire galactic economy for centuries. The casual mention of producing centuries' worth of rare metals made Guildmaster Zektal realize that humanity could crash every commodity market in the galaxy simply by being generous, Mr. Miller. Such massive production would destabilize established economic systems throughout galactic space. Dr. Foster looked concerned and immediately began discussing ways to minimize economic disruption, Guildmaster. We certainly don't want to cause problems for existing trade relationships. Lieutenant Commander Beth Rodriguez, who oversaw logistics for the human expedition, suggested a demonstration of their economic philosophy. Dr. Foster, why don't we show Guildmaster Zektal our standard welcome gift protocol? Dr. Foster approved the demonstration and activated her communication device. Captain Bennett, please authorize a standard diplomatic gift package for our new trade partners. Captain Lisa Bennett appeared on the communication screen and confirmed the authorization. Dr. Foster, the fabrication systems are already preparing a comprehensive materials package. Within hours, the human vessels had produced a massive cargo container filled with rare metals, precious minerals, and advanced materials. Guildmaster Zektal reviewed the contents of the gift package and realized it contained enough valuable resources to fund his organization for decades. Dr. Foster, this gift package represents more wealth than most star systems generate in a standard year. Dr. Foster seemed pleased that they had provided something useful. Guildmaster, we wanted to demonstrate our commitment to peaceful trade relationships. The gift that humanity intended as a simple gesture of goodwill was worth more than most planets' gross domestic product. Greg Miller explained that the gift package was considered routine by human standards. Guildmaster, our production capabilities make it easy to provide these materials without any significant cost to our operations. Guildmaster. Zektal realized that humanity's idea of a simple gift could destabilize entire sectors of the galactic economy. Mr. Miller, if you can produce these materials without cost, then traditional pricing systems become meaningless. Dr. Foster nodded and began explaining how human economics might integrate with galactic systems. Guildmaster, we think trade relationships should focus on mutual benefit rather than profit maximization. The concept of trade without profit was so alien to galactic commerce that Guildmaster Zektal needed several minutes to process the implications. Dr. Foster, are you suggesting that humanity has no interest in accumulating wealth? Lieutenant Commander Rodriguez answered the question by describing human social structures. Guildmaster, our society provides everything citizens need for comfortable lives, so individual wealth accumulation is less important than collective advancement. The idea that an entire civilization might prioritize collective welfare over individual profit made Guildmaster Zektal question fundamental assumptions about intelligent behavior. Lieutenant Commander, how do you motivate innovation and productivity without competitive market pressures? Dr. Foster explained human motivational systems with obvious pride. Guildmaster, humans are naturally curious and creative, so people pursue research and development because they find it personally fulfilling. The suggestion that people might work hard simply because they enjoyed their activities was completely foreign to galactic economic theory. Guildmaster Zektal attempted to negotiate traditional trade agreements despite the obvious futility. Dr. Foster, the Traders Guild requires exclusive contracts and standardized pricing for all major trade relationships. Greg Miller politely declined the exclusive arrangements. Guildmaster, we prefer open trade policies that benefit everyone rather than exclusive deals that might disadvantage some species. The human refusal to accept exclusive trading rights meant that their advanced technology would be available to everyone rather than just the highest bidders, Mr. Miller. Open access to your technology could disrupt established economic hierarchies throughout the galaxy. Dr. Foster seemed unconcerned about disrupting existing power structures. Guild Master. We believe that technological advancement should benefit all species, rather than just those who can afford to pay premium prices. Guildmaster. Zectol realized that humanity's economic philosophy would fundamentally transform galactic civilization. Doctor. Foster. Your approach to trade could eliminate the competitive advantages that have maintained stability for thousands of years. Lieutenant Commander Rodriguez offered a different perspective on stability. Guildmaster. Maybe it's time for a more equitable approach to galactic economics. Admiral Tony Clark, who had been observing the negotiations from aboard the USS Titan's wake, provided his assessment. Dr. Foster. It appears that our economic principles are causing some concern among the established trade organizations. Dr. Foster acknowledged the concerns but maintained humanity's position. Admiral, we want to be good galactic citizens, but we won't compromise our values to maintain systems that create artificial scarcity. Guildmaster Zectol made one final attempt to preserve traditional economic structures. Dr. Foster. The Traders Guild formally requests that humanity accept limitations on production and distribution to maintain market stability. Greg Miller responded with polite firmness. Guildmaster. We appreciate your concerns, but we won't accept artificial restrictions on our ability to help other species. The human rejection of economic limitations meant that the galaxy's established trade systems would need to adapt or become obsolete. Guildmaster Zectol finally accepted that traditional economics had just become extinct. Dr. Foster. It appears that we need to develop entirely new models for galactic commerce. Dr. Foster smiled and offered humanity's assistance with economic transition. 6 months after first contact, the galaxy had transformed in ways that no one could have predicted, and the changes were accelerating with each passing day. The Hegemony Council had restructured itself as the Galactic Cooperative with voting representation. Based on population, rather than military strength, and humanity held a permanent advisory position despite being the newest members. Captain Lisa Bennett found herself appointed as the first human galactic liaison, coordinating between Earth's expanding exploration fleet and the dozens of species requesting human partnership. Admiral Kelly, we have formal requests for assistance from 23 different species and more are arriving every day, she reported during their weekly coordination meeting. Admiral Susan Kelly, who commanded humanity's growing galactic presence, reviewed the requests with careful attention to potential complications. Captain Bennett. Our primary mission remains scientific exploration, but we can't ignore species that genuinely need help. The USS Titan's wake had been joined by 12 other Colossus-Class vessels, each carrying thousands of humans eager to explore the galaxy and share their knowledge. Chief Engineer Danny Rodriguez had established construction academies on 12 different worlds, teaching alien engineers human-building techniques and safety protocols. Captain Bennett, the Zephyrian students are making remarkable progress, and they've already begun implementing fusion containment systems. Dr. Helen Grant added her observations about the broader impact of human technology sharing. Captain, the medical exchange programs are producing incredible results, especially in the treatment of previously incurable genetic disorders. The xenobiological studies that Dr. Grant had conducted revealed that humanity's rapid technological advancement was due to their unique approach to cooperation and risk-taking. While other species had developed highly specialized societies, humans maintained what she termed adaptive generalism that allowed them to excel in multiple fields simultaneously. Dr. Grant, your research suggests that human cognitive flexibility gives us advantages in technological development, Captain Bennett observed. Exactly, Captain. While other species focus on perfecting specific capabilities, humans constantly adapt and integrate new approaches. Lieutenant Commander Steve Parker reported that the warrior cultures, which had once dominated through military might, were now competing to serve as security partners for human expeditions. Captain Bennett, we have requests from 17 different military organizations offering protection services for our exploration missions. The irony was not lost on anyone that species which had once threatened each other were now working together to protect human civilians. Ambassador Claire Williams transmitted regular reports from the new cooperative headquarters where she served as humanity's primary representative, Captain Bennett. The political transformation has been remarkable because species that were enemies for centuries are now collaborating on joint projects. The scholar species had devoted themselves to understanding human science, while the trader species reinvented themselves as cultural exchange facilitators. Greg Miller, who continued managing economic integration, reported unprecedented levels of cooperation. Captain Bennett, we're seeing voluntary resource sharing between species that had never cooperated before human contact. The post-scarcity economics that humanity had introduced eliminated competitive pressures and allowed species to focus on collective advancement rather than survival struggles. Dr. Amy Foster documented the social changes that accompanied economic transformation. Captain Bennett, crime rates have dropped significantly across multiple worlds, as basic needs are now guaranteed for all citizens. The elimination of resource scarcity had reduced conflicts both within and between species, creating unprecedented levels of galactic stability. Colonel Ryan Hayes provided security assessments that reflected the new reality. Captain Bennett, we're observing the first sustained period of galactic peace in recorded history. The military forces that had once prepared for constant warfare were now focused on exploration and disaster. Relief Commander Jake Morrison noted the psychological impact of human presence. Captain Bennett, other species seem more optimistic and willing to attempt ambitious projects since joining the cooperative. The human example of attempting seemingly impossible goals had inspired other species to push beyond their traditional limitations. Dr. Grant's ongoing research revealed additional benefits of human integration. Captain Bennett, we're documenting increased innovation rates among species that work closely with human teams. The collaborative approach that humans brought to problem solving was proving contagious as other species adopted similar methods. Captain Bennett reviewed reports from across human space and realized their impact extended far beyond their original exploration mission. It appears that our presence has triggered fundamental changes in galactic civilization. Admiral Kelly acknowledged the responsibility that came with such influence. Captain Bennett, humanity needs to ensure that our influence remains positive. The USS Titan's wake continued serving as a mobile research platform, but it was now accompanied by a growing fleet of vessels from multiple species. Chief Rodriguez reported on the joint construction projects that had become commonplace. Captain Bennett, we're currently supporting infrastructure development on 47 different worlds. The engineering expertise that humans shared freely had enabled other species to begin their own technological revolutions. Dr. Foster documented the cultural renaissance that accompanied technological advancement. Captain Bennett, we're seeing unprecedented levels of artistic and intellectual achievement as species gain freedom from survival concerns. The time and energy that had once been devoted to resource competition was now available for creative pursuits. Lieutenant Commander Rodriguez managed the logistics of supporting dozens of cooperative ventures simultaneously. Captain Bennett, our supply systems are operating at full capacity, but we're still meeting all requests for assistance. The industrial capabilities that humans had developed for deep space exploration proved perfectly suited for supporting galactic development. Ambassador Williams reported that the cooperative was considering humanity's proposal for joint exploration of the galactic core. Captain Bennett, the member species are enthusiastic about collaborative deep space missions. The prospect of exploring unknown regions together had unified the galaxy around shared goals rather than territorial disputes. Admiral Clark provided strategic assessments from his position, commanding the Outer System Defense Grid. Captain Bennett, we're observing peaceful resolution of conflicts that would have triggered wars under the old system. The security that human technology provided allowed species to resolve disputes through negotiation rather than military action. Dr. Grant made her final observation about the transformation. Captain Bennett, humanity's arrival appears to have unlocked the cooperative potential that existed within galactic civilization. Captain Bennett reflected on the changes they had witnessed. Dr. Grant, it seems like other species were waiting for someone to demonstrate that cooperation was more effective than competition. The competitive hierarchies that had dominated the galaxy for millennia had given way to collaborative networks focused on mutual advancement. Greg Miller provided the economic perspective. Captain Bennett, we've essentially created a post-scarcity civilization spanning multiple star systems. The abundance that human technology provided had eliminated the resource conflicts that had driven galactic politics for thousands of years. Colonel Hayes offered the military viewpoint. Captain Bennett, we've achieved security through cooperation rather than through superior firepower. The deterrent effect of human capabilities, combined with their peaceful intentions, had created unprecedented stability. Captain Bennett composed her annual report to Earth Command, summarizing the first year of galactic integration. Admiral Kelly, humanity has successfully integrated with galactic civilization, and our presence has triggered positive changes throughout known space. The exploration mission that had begun as scientific research had evolved into a galactic transformation project. Captain Bennett, what are our priorities for the coming year? Admiral Kelly asked. Captain Bennett consulted with her senior staff before responding. Admiral, we should focus on supporting the species that are still adapting to post-scarcity economics while continuing our exploration of unknown regions. Dr. Grant added her scientific perspective. Captain Bennett, I recommend expanding our research into galactic history because understanding how previous civilizations developed could help guide current progress. The archaeological expeditions that human vessels had begun were revealing evidence of ancient civilizations that might have achieved similar technological levels. Commander Morrison suggested operational improvements. Captain Bennett, we should establish permanent research stations in key systems to provide ongoing support for cooperative projects. The mobile approach that had worked for first contact was giving way to more permanent infrastructure as human presence became established. Lieutenant Commander Parker recommended security enhancements. Captain Bennett, We should train joint defense forces with member species to ensure that our security model remains effective as the cooperative expands. The peaceful expansion of cooperative civilization required careful planning. To maintain stability, Captain Bennett finalized her recommendations.